And this vine reaches over, taps Victoria on the arm, and says, "Feed me! Feed me, Carbon! Feed me now! Feed me, Seymour! Feed me all night long!" That's right, boy! You can do it! Feed me, Seymour!
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Welcome aboard.
Jean-Luc Picard to the Starship Enterprise.
You want to review your rapid progress?
That nonsense is centuries behind us. To the Starship Enterprise.
Oh, yeah?
That is enough, damn it!
Tempo, mon capitan.
To the Starship Enterprise.
But you can't deny that you're still a dangerous, savage child race.
Of the planet Earth.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
Nuchnek, and welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a comedy Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
And, you know, we don't like to put a time on these episodes when we're recording. We like to keep it evergreen and timeless. But here in Colorado, we had some snow blow through.
It was super, super, super cold.
Yeah, it's like 96 hours below freezing, I think, is what I heard they were predicting for temperatures. We got a little bit of snow. There's more coming. I'm hoping for a snow day.
Yeah, I don't think there's that much coming. It's supposed to be coming today.
Well, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
We also just returned to school from winter break recently. And when you go back to work, you know, out of school after break, you always have the conversations. Oh, how was your break? Did you have a good holiday? Christmas good? Blah, 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 whatever. I was sick the entire 2 weeks of winter break. I had some kind of awful disease that was going around, and it's still going around. Like, this is 3 weeks later.
Did you have that thing, that virus that's going around? Do we know?
We don't know. I didn't test. I know I failed a COVID test.
Okay.
I didn't.
Which is what you want to do.
Yes, right. I tested negative for COVID. I didn't go to the doctor and test for anything else, but I was like miserable for days. And then I started feeling better, and we had some friends over for like a Christmas lunch kind of thing. And then that night I was like, oh, I'm dying again.
Came back.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of like chest congestion and stuff, or?
Yeah, it was all just like head cold, but like a severe head cold. And now, like out of that, people are still sick, and there's this plague going around, the norovirus and the flu and all the bad things.
I think it's the HP
LaserJet 2400.
PVM. Fuck.
It's the MVP of H's.
HMPV.
Oh, MPV.
That's why I was asking if it was a chest cold, because this is some sort of upper respiratory infection. They're saying, you know, it's not deadly. It could be for some people with, you know, compromised immune system, but you should be able to recover from it.
But here's the thing. And the answer is no. This is a facetious question. Did we learn nothing from COVID? People are coming to work sick because we live in this capitalist hellscape that doesn't like care whether you die or not. And you better fucking be at work unless you're bleeding or shitting out your nose. And even then, you should probably come to work. Like
bleeding or shitting out your nose. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That will probably require a graphic content warning. But like, did we learn nothing? Put a fucking mask on.
Nobody wears masks anymore. I see like one or two people when I'm out and about, but nobody wears masks anymore. And I'm totally fine with going back to that. I'm going to the Martin Luther King Parade tomorrow, and I'm gonna wear a mask just because.
Fuck yeah. Well, Allie, there's an urgent call coming in from the transporter room. They're prepared to beam up a box for you. Did you order a box?
No. Maybe Amazon got the wrong house.
No, it's from your new husband to be, who happens to be a doctor who's interested in viruses and bacteria like this plague that's going around.
Great, that'll come in handy.
Well, it's a time for celebration, everyone. Allie's arranged marriage has come to catch us. Whew.
And Sarah's gonna perform the wedding.
Yes. Hell yes. All right, let's have a wedding. It's Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 11, Haven.
Commander, you'll soon be getting an intruder alert.
What? I've got something, sir.
Intruder alert, sir.
It's an old-style starship, sir. Constellation class, heading this way under impulse talk.
Number one, kindly take charge of our guests until we have time to decide what we're going to do with them. Sir, number one, keep them out of my way.
This week, we're headed toward a planet in the Beta Cassius system called Haven, and the camera cuts right to Wesley, and he's like, okay, guys, we totally reviewed their laws and punishments this time, right?
Can I go? Can I still go?
Here we are on another fucking paradise planet. This one, however, is believed to have mystical healing powers.
And Picard tells Data, he's like, there's a legend that says that this planet's been known to mend souls and heal broken hearts. But then Data throws back some reality and says, legends which are totally unsupported by fact.
Get it, Data. He's like, you are being so unscientific right now. You can't possibly believe there's some magical healing crystals or whatever. Like, this is legend stuff.
Yeah, he's pulling it actually on him.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Riker's in his quarters enjoying some hollow porn.
Oh my.
I don't know what else to call that. He's just sitting there.
They're clothed at this point, I guess.
Yeah, they are. But at the beginning. So he's sitting in his chair and he's watching these two women, really beautiful, playing some sort of harp. Unfortunately, he's interrupted by a call from Lieutenant Yar, where his presence is requested in the transporter room. And so he apologizes to the imaginary ladies and goes off to duty.
He turns off the hollow ladies with a remote control and then lays it down on the counter before he leaves. Talk about getting the future wrong. They didn't predict Alexa at this point in this show. And I know it's coming, right? Pretty soon there's lots of computer play, Box Third, Brandenburg, whatever. So Alexa's coming. But at this point in the series, they have remote controls.
I know there have been scenes already where they yell out, "Hey, computer."
Mm-hmm.
So that remote didn't make any sense.
He should have just said, computer, end holographic porno. In the transporter room, Riker meets up with Tasha, who has some object being beamed in from Haven, and she's not sure what it is. They just receive this package from an unknown sender and have no idea what it is. Why are we beaming this up?
You know it's coming. So can't you just refuse it?
Right. We're going to have somebody open that box and make sure it's not an IED or some bullshit before you beam it up here. Anyway.
So the transporter chief, whoever that is, he says that the surface station approval is coming in now. So some sort of approval, but from the surface, and they're going to bring it in.
So they beam this thing in, and it's this silver treasure chest looking box with Armin Shimmerman's face sticking out of the front of it. This is the weirdest fucking box in the world, for reals.
Yeah. Hey, send me an Armin Shimmerman box. I will take it. I will accept that transmission.
For some reason, Troi decides to drop by at this point, and when she speaks, the face comes to life and announces that Lwaxana Troi and the Honorable Miller family will soon arrive. The momentous day is close at hand. Rejoice!
Troi is visibly upset. She's like, oh, shit.
And then a door at the bottom of the box opens up, and a whole bucket full of costume jewelry comes spilling out.
But Tasha's like, look at all these jewels. It's all this fake plastic.
Troi explains that this is the equivalent of a wedding shower gift. And Riker's like, who's getting married? Troi looks absolutely terrified. as she says she's the one getting married.
I hold a message for Deanna Troi. The momentous day is close at hand. Rejoice!
Poor Troy has to explain in the ready room to everyone that she's the victim of an arranged marriage by her parents, her betazoid mother, and she has a human father. And this arrangement was made when she was a child. And then she says something about genetic bonding as a betazoid tradition, but then she says that the man that she's supposed to marry was the son of a very close friend of her father's. I don't understand what the whole genetic part meant
No.
at all. So her father's closest friend was named Steve Miller, and she's got to marry his son Wyatt. And because she does a lot of work travel, she was always far away from home, so she really thought that this arranged marriage would really never happen.
I still think she should have told Riker about all of this when they were fucking.
I mean,
Hey, I'm betrothed to this dude in this dumb prearranged marriage. You should probably know that. Chances are really low that this guy shows up looking to make good on that deal, but you should probably know that that's a thing.
yeah. I mean, she probably just put it out of her head,
And Riker is very clearly bothered by all of this.
Yeah.
He caught some feelings. So Troy's like, oh, you'll also need to open a rec for ship's counselor because I'm not going to be able to keep my job. Picard gets up and offers his congratulations and then leaves because clearly Riker and Troi still have some talking to do.
Mm-hmm.
Riker, who is back to Bill this week as well because this was shot in a different order than it was released. And this is such a soap opera episode. And we've talked about, especially Star Trek The Next Generation being soap opera in space. This is a legit, Bill's trying to kick up some old sparks with Deanna, and some other man in her life shows up. Awkward!
But then she's like, well, you want to be a starship captain, right? I mean, I just be in the way if we're going to, try to have a relationship. So she puts it back on him.
That's something this show does and has done since the days of Kirk and Spock that I don't like. This idea that if you're a ship's captain, you can't have room or time for a family.
But then they bring out these old admirals and stuff that have wives, and then they bring their wives on in several different episodes.
Once you've moved on from captain to admiral, then you can get married, I guess. I don't like it. It's not a good look, Star Trek.
Yeah, it's like you're married to your job.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I mean, I imagine it would be hard to have a relationship. It's not impossible.
Right.
But
put a pin in it because in 6.5 seasons, we'll get into an entire Star Trek series that is about family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the commander in that episode, the HBIC in that episode, has a family and makes it work. So don't tell me captains can't have family. Anyway.
Yeah.
Troi invites Bill to come dance at her wedding. Oh,
right? Slap me in the face.
And the way he says, yeah, I'll try, is like the way a parent tells a kid, we'll see. Can we go to the... Yeah, we'll see. Can I get the good cereal? We'll see.
The good cereal.
Not that fucking Frosted Flakes bullshit.
Not the box of cereal that's just called cereal. Across the top.
Oh, God. Now we've got to design a cereal box that just says cereal across the front.
And we'll do it'll be in Wheaties letters, but then you'll have Riker. We have one for Riker, and one for Troi, and one for Picard. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's so great. Hey, listen, we're still on the look for a historical curator for all of the ridiculous shit that we say. And so to that end, to help myself, I've added a channel in our Discord, which you can find at humanisttrek.com, that is Humanist Trek merch ideas. Because I say them on the show when we're fucking stoned out of our minds, and then they're never to be heard
And
from
then
again.
I remember. Yeah.
Or sometimes I'll write it down on a piece of paper near me here, but like, look at all these notes I have on the back of this envelope.
I can't
like,
understand that shit.
Yeah, so I've got piles of notes with ideas that I will never look at again. And yeah, it would be helpful if somebody would be like, go to that Discord channel and type, hey, Sarah, don't forget, you said we should make a cereal box.
Cereal box
my
either.
God.
He's mad.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like mad, but
Yep.
she's a betazoid, so she feels differently about those types of things. And of course, he's human. So of course, humans get butthurt, like
Yep.
at the drop of a hat. And she's, of course, so she invites him to dance at her wedding, which would be an insult to humans.
Even Data notices Riker's like feelings on his face as he enters the room when Riker's leaving. And Data has come with a report that the Miller wedding party is ready to beam up. So Troi heads down to the transporter room to meet her new man and the new in-laws. The Millers beam in. Stephen Miller, played by Robert Ellenstein, who you might know as the Federation president in Star Trek IV, the one with the whales. He was also known for the 1959 Alfred Hitchcock film North by Northwest.
Cool.
Mrs. Victoria Miller is played by Nan Martin, who I just learned is from Decatur, Illinois, which is the closest big town to where I grew up.
Nice.
Fans of this show may recall that in my youth, I was the morning show producer at News Talk 1340 WSOY Decatur.
Wow. And
That's the Decatur, where this lady's from.
and that probably never leaves her head. You'll
God,
always
no.
be with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Swap Shop, you're on the air. 875-1340, 1-800-500-WSOY. Oh, yeah. It's all fucking
Holy
stuck right
shit.
there.
It's part of your DNA now.
So anyway, that was a really fun connection. And sadly, she passed away, or I would have given her a ring-a-dingy. She was also in Castaway,
Really?
the Tom Hanks volleyball movie.
A confession. Never saw that movie.
What?
Never saw it.
Oh, man. Everybody had to see that movie. It was like the cultural phenomenon of the year.
I get all the references because everybody fucking talks about it, but I
Right.
have never
Huh.
seen that movie.
I guess we're going to have a watch party. Robert Nepper plays Wyatt Miller. We'll see him again when we get to Voyager. He plays an alien in a late season episode. Robert did a lot of guest roles starting around this time, but he was also in 18 episodes of Heroes. Save the cheerleader, save the world.
Yes. I love that. Yeah. I remember him there.
He was in Stargate Universe.
That series didn't last very long, but everyone loved it and we were so mad when it ended. But he has a tendency, he's kind of been typecast because he kind of plays like a little bit evil. But here he's playing, a nice guy. But
Yeah, a very awkward, nice guy.
yeah.
To carry on the sci-fi connections, he was in an episode of The Orville as well.
Oh man, and I love that show.
Mhm.
I don't remember him though.
Anyway, so they beam in, and Steve Miller introduces himself.
Some people call me the space cowboy.
Mr. and Mrs. Miller make a big fuss over Deanna, while Wyatt just stands awkwardly at the back of the transporter pad waiting. And then he comes down, introduces himself, and gives her a chameleon rose, which is a rose that changes color with the mood of its owner. And we see, like, this is a fun effect. It changes from one color to, like, it kind of cycles through a palette of colors.
Yeah, it changed from blue to white. That's, I guess, whatever that indicates her mood is.
White must be really fucking uncomfortable with this whole thing.
Yeah.
Listen, this is the shittiest gift. Sneaky motherfucker. Because if this thing tells you what I'm feeling and I hold the flower and it turns a color that means I'm really fucking uncomfortable with this whole thing, or like I'm angry, I'm furious, if it had turned bright red for anger, wouldn't he have been like, oh shit, maybe this was a bad gift?
Well, okay. Devil's advocate. He's not a betazoid, so he can't read her thoughts or her feelings.
This is like evens the playing field.
And
I like that.
also, he didn't ask for this either because he's in the same. It's not like he initiated it.
Right.
So he's in the same. He's a victim too, I feel.
He's also holding this acrylic clipboard looking thing, but it's not really clear yet what is actually in it. It looks like there's papers or something. Put a pin in that.
Yeah, I was like, why is he always carrying that around like some nerd? Like, what is
Right.
this? Like your
holding it to his chest like it's the most prized possession.
right.
Yeah.
And when he sees her, he finds her beautiful, but he looks a little disappointed.
Mm-hmm. And she mentions this. Troi asks about her mom, when's she going to be here? And it's pretty obvious that she's waiting for the Wyatts to leave before she beams up. She's got to make herself an entrance. So Picard sends the Wyatts off to their quarters. And when they're gone, Picard and Troi have a little chat about these feelings that she was getting from Wyatt, that she's not what he expected. It was like a surprise to him.
Right.
And then she warns Picard about her mother. She's a little eccentric, and also she's fucking the executive producer, so, dog and pony show, let's all be on our best behavior.
Wait, were they married still at that time?
Searching.
I didn't know this.
What?
Barrett and Roddenberry were married in Japan on August 6th, 1969 in a Shinto ceremony. His divorce was not yet finalized, so he and Barrett had a second ceremony at their home in California on December 29th. However, Roddenberry continued to have relationships with other women. The couple had a son, Eugene Jr., who's a friend of the show. Roddenberry and Barrett remained married until his death in 1991.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
In beams Lwaxana Troi, played by Majel Barrett Roddenberry, of course, along with Mr. Hom, who we don't quite meet yet, but he's played by Carol Strucken, who is best known for his character and monster roles, like Lurch in the 1991 Addams Family movie and then all of its sequels. He was also in Men in Black.
Yeah, he's such a familiar face.
And this is good fun. Lwaxana is facing backward as she materializes and makes a big fuss about being disoriented. And where is everybody?
She's like, oh, I hate that. She's so funny. She just brings such amazing levity to the show and a little bit of annoyance, but yeah.
Speaking of annoying, she makes a big to-do about Deanna speaking out loud instead of using her telepathy. And then Lwaxana goes to Picard and she's like, nope, don't tell me you're the captain. And it's not the telepathy. It's just that's who she would have expected to be the one to come greet her. She is that high up on the pecking order that the captain himself would, of course, come to greet me.
And then she says, but you may carry my luggage.
Ugh.
And Troi wants to die at this point. She's like, oh my God, Mom.
Yeah, it's my embarrassing mom comes to visit my workplace. This is going to be a fun episode.
And Picard is so sweet. He's like, no, it's okay. I'm indebted to your mother for giving us you. How sweet is that? So he tries to pick up the luggage, and it's like a fucking boulder. And here, Mr. Hum is 7 feet tall, and Picard is trying to carry this luggage and struggling with it.
I should warn you, sir. My mother is a little eccentric.
This spills out into the hallway where mother and daughter bicker toward the turbo lift. Picard in the lead, still struggling with the suitcase. And they pass by Data and Geordi, who get some great reaction shots like, am I really seeing what I'm seeing right now?
It's quite inappropriate for you to ask the captain to carry your luggage. And she's like, oh, well, yeah, you do seem to be having some trouble. And Troi just makes them all stop. And it's like, the starship has customs. And finally, they work it out to where Mr. Hom is going to take the luggage. And of course, he picks it up with no problem.
Another fun recurring bit that starts right here at the beginning is the way Lwaxana thinks all men are hot for her. She talks about having to fire her last valet, Zelo, because he was hot for her, and his thoughts were truly pornographic.
Oh my.
And then they get in the turbo lift, And Loxana starts shit-talking the Millers. She says that father of his is some pretty vulgar thoughts toward me, too. Something about loving her peaches and wanting to shake her tree.
What?
That's another Steve Miller Band joke.
Lovey-dovey all the time.
And Mrs. Miller, she just won't shut the fuck up. Like, lady, you're the one that doesn't shut the fuck up, Loxana. You've been talking this whole damn time. And finally, Deanna has had enough, and telepathy shouts at her mom, and Loxana seems pleased with this use of telepathy, at least.
She's pushing her daughter's buttons, as parents do.
And I want to point out here, I don't want to beat the dead horse, but all the way out of the transporter room, down the hall, around the corner, into the turbo lift, Deanna's getting more and more emotionally frustrated as this walk and talk goes on. And that stupid flower stayed the same fucking color the entire time.
Oh, they had an opportunity there, and they did not use it.
Yep. In the guest quarters, Mrs. Troi says the room is small but adequate, and Picard is already like backing up towards the door to make his escape. And then Loxana gives him permission to leave, and he does this fantastically funny bow and step backward through the door, which closes in front of him. That was hilarious.
Yeah, she's a hurricane. After he leaves, she's given her daughter some shit about allowing her mental powers to rust and not using them. And but then Troy says, humans are confusing. They constantly say one thing and think another. So
Ain't that the truth? Well, apparently betazoids are all about complete honesty, which is a trait I don't think we see. There was some other trait in the first episode. They're like, oh, betazoids are very such and such, and we were like, never gonna see that again. I think this complete honesty thing is bullshit too. So Deanna tries to explain that, like, Mom, you're gonna have to tone it down when you're around the humans. Oh, but I thought Loxana was married to a human. She knows how humans are. You don't have to tell her.
Yeah, her husband, Deanna's father was human.
Anyway, about this whole prearranged marriage thing, Loxana says out loud that she's sorry for all of this. Steve Miller tracked her down. He got on a big old jet airliner.
Big old jet airliner.
Went from Phoenix, Arizona, all the way to Tacoma, Philadelphia, Atlanta, LA.
Keep on rocking me, baby.
And Deanna puts voice to her concerns. Like, she's, listen, this is a ritual and a tradition, and I'm a betazoid, and I'll do what I got to do. But I'm not exactly keen on the whole thing. On the bridge, they get a phone call from Haven's HBIC, Valeda Innes, played by Anna Katarina, who we see again in Star Trek. Coming later. She plays a Vulcan Science Council member in Star Trek, the 2009 movie.
Oh, cool.
She's detected an incoming vessel that bypassed their Stargate. Whoa, Stargates in Star Trek?
Yes. I love Stargate.
I never caught that before.
Yep.
So this ship ran the stop sign, and because the Federation has a treaty here, they're going to have to go pull them over. Whoop, whoop.
What you gonna do?
What you gonna do?
Bad boys. And because they didn't respond to hails, they're seeing that as a possible hostility. Just like, oh, Card, please protect us.
Meanwhile, Wyatt's relaxing in his quarters when Deanna drops by to apologize for her mother. And this is the most awkward conversation ever, because this is like first date trying to get to know each other thing, but they're engaged already.
Yeah.
I'd like to go ahead right now and go on the record. I, Sarah, am against arranged marriages. I think it's stupid.
I do too.
Okay.
And I mean, I think most people do. We don't have to do that because we have freedom. There are cultures,
Hey, hey, we're not going to have freedom for much longer.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's going away like TikTok.
At time of recording. Because right now,
Yeah.
podcast magic.
Anyway, so Wyatt is a doctor, and his dream is to cure people. Deanna's a psychologist, so, maybe we can put the things together and
Let's have a team up.
work together. Yeah. And also, you should probably know there's another guy, Bill. He wants to be a starship captain, though, and we've already established that starship captains can't have a family, so you don't really have to worry about him all that much. And he's on this ship.
Oh, so I got competition.
Mm-hmm.
And Troy thought that maybe he was an artist. And then she goes walking around the room looking at the things that he's drawn. And I guess that's what he's been carrying around.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, oh, you've already got photos of other women.
Wow, you didn't even try to hide those. Oh, this is the equivalent of the sticky magazine hidden under the mattress.
Right.
Deanna's starting to put the pieces together here. Wyatt expected Deanna to be this woman that he's been drawing and was surprised when he was wrong. He thought for sure that this woman he's been drawing was going to be Deanna. He's been seeing this face since he was a child, even hearing her speak. And he thought, it must be because she has these, betazoid mental powers that she could like telepathy into my thoughts or whatever. Also, sir, that's not how that works. I really expected a Spock-like response here. Like, I expected Deanna to be like, well, full betazoids can do shit like that. But as you know, my father was a human, and so I'm a half betazoid. Remember Spock was like, oh, I can't mind meld with every species because I'm not a full Vulcan or whatever.
Yeah.
And he snatches up these drawings again, and holds them tight to his chest. Every time he carries this, this is just his baby. He's got to hold this. And he says, don't mistake a childish fantasy for disappointment. I'm not disappointed. You're great, I'm sure. Very honored by this whole thing. But his body language very clearly communicates that he is disappointed.
Yeah. And he's like, in our marriage bedroom, I'm going to have these on the wall.
Captain's log, Picard is in full agreement with Sarah that the arranged marriage custom is just wrong. He says the facts of 24th century life have made this custom unwise and unworkable. Sadly, there are still places where this is a thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's all about what the family, it's all about what the family wants and what's best for the family, either fortune or bloodline or whatever. And it's not about the people getting married at all.
Yeah, not cool, humans. Let's stop doing that. And Picard says he wishes he could intervene.
Yeah, I think he sees Deanna as sort of like a daughter figure.
Mm-hmm. On the bridge, Data's got this bogey on screen. It's traveling at subwarp speed, so it's hours away. So it doesn't really seem like much of a threat, but then when they zoom in on it, they identify it as a Tyrellian vessel, which is apparently a big fucking threat.
Apparently they're all supposed to be dead. There shouldn't even be any Tyrellians, but here this ship is.
And we don't know what the actual threat is, but Picard calls Crusher to the bridge urgent and says they must not be permitted to destroy the Enterprise or the planet. So it's a pretty big threat.
Dun, dun, dun.
And now, if you will excuse me, I'm sure the two of you have a lot to talk about.
Yes, Captain. You may go.
In the conference room, the senior staff is passing the speaking stick around the room, taking turns dumping buckets of exposition on the table. We learn that the Tyrellians had reached a level of knowledge similar to Earth in the 20th century, enough for them to create a deadly biological weapon. And just like Earth, the people of different lands fucking hated each other, and their violence ultimately led to the deployment of this awful weapon, which resulted in all of them being infected, because they were too fucking stupid for their own good. Some Tyrellians loaded up their smallpox blankets and left for other worlds, infecting the people there, and ultimately killing them. Some tried to escape to uninhabited places, but were tracked down and killed. And before today, the belief was that their last ship was destroyed 8 years ago, but yet here is another one. Picard asks Data, exactly when will we reach Haven? Too specific, Jean-Luc, too specific. Data says exactly 13 hours, 9 minutes, 22 seconds, 250, and he gets cut off.
Yeah. So because of the way they're limping along in the sky, they could be incapacitated or injured. And so Picard is like, okay, we're supposed to try to help protect Haven because of our treaty, but then we're also tasked with assisting anybody. And so what do? We can't just blow them out of the sky.
Just as he dismisses them, Picard adds, oh, also, one more thing. There should be plenty of time for the A story this week, the pre-joining announcement of Counselor Troi and Wyatt Miller. But in the middle of that statement, Riker shoots a look at Troi, and still he is very bothered by this whole bullshit and storms out of the room before Picard can even finish his sentence.
And how many times has he fucked around?
I don't know mad, bro? I don't know that we've seen him so much as the player yet, have we?
It's implied, everywhere. Yeah. Every time there's a pretty female, I'm like, why are you mad, bro?
This next scene has a lot going on, including a lot of fun background shit. So we're having a reception, and even Bill is there. He put his pride down and came to the reception. Mrs. Miller declares that the ceremony will be tomorrow and asks Picard to preside over the wedding, which, of course, Lwaxana overhears, and she's like, oh, hell no. And this sets off a ding, ding, ding in-law fight. So the Millers are expecting an Earth ceremony. Lwaxana expects a traditional Betazoid ceremony. And Sarah's just putting it out there again that I am legally recognized to perform weddings in the United States. And I think Humanist celebrants are uniquely suited to bringing people of different backgrounds together and finding our common things to have a ceremony around. So, call Sarah for all your Star Trek wedding needs. Anyway, Lwaxana is shit-talking Victoria to her face now. Voices are rising, but in the background, Ham, who, by the way, doesn't speak, is throwing drinks back, and Data is just watching this whole thing with the most excited interest a person can have.
Yeah.
This is a great study in humanity that Data doesn't often get to witness. All the fucking in-law fighting and the drunk uncle over at the bar. This is great stuff.
Yeah, and it's like him watching a tennis match. His head is going from everybody, and he's got a smile on his face.
And the final escalation of this argument gives us the first appearance. It's right here at the very beginning of Lwaxana's official title. She says, I am Lwaxana Troi, daughter of the fifth house, holder of the sacred chalice of Reeks, heir to the holy rings of Betazed. Who are you? So she thinks she is somebody important.
She is. You want to hate her, but you love her because she is just full of audacity. Picard breaks in and he's like, okay, enough of this shit. And then that's when they sit down to a meal. So same party. Now they're actually sitting down at a long table and eating. And it's so funny because as they're eating, Mr. Home starts banging on that fucking gong. And Picard raises his glass for a toast. And that's when Mr. Hom is in the background just fucking down in drinks. And yes. Data's standing right next to him just looking on.
Data asks him, given the rate at which you imbibe, is your lineage at all human? Because humans are apparently drunkards. And Hom is very clearly offended that Data would even suggest such a thing.
He does this exaggerated, put his nose in the air, literally. And then Data, he did it so purposefully that Data's off looking in the direction where his nose is in the air to see what he's looking at. That's hilarious to me.
Wyatt wants to talk about this Torellian plague ship coming in, being a doctor and all.
Because apparently Wyatt's read about them. He's a biological virus, and he's really interested in that whole thing.
And he connects with Crusher over this, doctor concerned for people suffering situation that's going on. And she offers him the full use of sickbay to get some supplies together that we can beam over.
Meanwhile, Data is walking around taking it all in, and Picard tells him he's circling like a buzzard. But he's just finding everyone so intriguing. He's never seen this type of soap opera drama before, and he's just finding them intriguing.
Speaking of soap opera drama, Victoria's getting annoyed with this gong going off every 10 seconds, and Lwaxana snarks back at her. They just keep going back and forth. Lwaxana has this vine of leaves wrapped around her arm, which is apparently a living thing because it like shakes up next to her face. Did you think that sounded like the transmission of the disease shaking sound? So this thing shakes up by her cheek and she gets this devilish grin and asks Victoria, how do you feel about pets? You into pets? You like pets? Pets a good thing for you? And she's like, oh yeah, pets are fine. And this vine reaches over, taps Victoria on the arm and says,
Feed me, Carbon, feed me now.
feed me Seymour, feed me all night long.
That's right, boy.
You can do it, feed me Seymour.
Victoria freaks the fuck out and screams, and then Lwaxana is like comforting the little vine. She's like, oh, poor baby, did she hurt you? And Riker gets up and he's like, you know what, fuck this, I've had enough of this. He gets up abruptly and makes an excuse that he's gonna go consider the Tyrellian situation. So back to everything is settled down, and Data wants them to talk some more. So he's like poking the bear, and he's like, he asked Lwaxana to talk about the Betazoid ceremony.
And Lwaxana starts explaining that everyone goes naked and Victoria chokes on her drink. And Lwaxana's like, oh, don't worry, your body's okay. It's not that bad. That is all very much another glimmer of Gene's own personal brand of horny that we've seen a lot in this series. Besides, your husband quite likes the idea of seeing me naked. You did know he's hot for me. So again, with the every man wants me thing.
Yeah, and then right there and at the table with everyone, in front of everyone, and Data's just having the time of his life.
And then Steve says, oh, Lwaxana, every time you call my name, I heat up like a burning flame. Burning flame, full of desire. Kiss me, baby, let the fire get higher. No, Steve's like, no, I don't have the hots. I don't know what she's talking about. I've never sent her a dick pic.
That was it. That was all Deanna Troi needed, because she was like, you know what? Stop this petty bickering, all of you. She jumps up and she walks out.
A fun moment as Deanna storms out of the room. She walks past Mr. Hom, who's still banging on that fucking gong, and she knocks it off his table. Oh, that was great.
Oh, I love this. This episode was great.
So good.
And Data says, could you please continue the petty bickering? I find it most intriguing.
I am Lwaxana Troi, daughter of the fifth house, holder of the sacred chalice of Reeks, heir to the holy rings of Betazed. Who are you?
So I guess Riker's gone to cool off. He's in the holodeck just watching a sunset on some paint the soundstage purple. And he's sitting on a rock, and Troi knows exactly where to find him. So she goes and joins him. And he confesses, I'll miss you. Because it's not that she's getting married. She's also leaving the Enterprise. Troy's like, oh, I'm not Imzadi. I'm not boo to you anymore. Imzadi is their word for boo, basically.
I felt like his heart is shattered right now. And she's trying to play the old, we can still be friends line.
Yeah. I mean, what else I think that's what you would try to make him feel better in whatever way you could. But her attempts aren't making him feel better.
Yeah, right. Something she says here didn't land for me. She accuses humans, particularly young human males, of being unable to separate platonic love from physical love. And I think the better word for that is romantic.
Yeah.
Platonic versus romantic love. And my own pedantry aside, she's kind of right. Like, we are often very territorial in our love, especially in this like monogamous cultural expectations that we put upon ourselves.
Yeah.
Regarding romantic love, I don't think we culturally teach platonic love in a meaningful way, especially to boys.
Oh, no. In this society, a man can't even look at a woman without somehow making it about sex or
Yep.
something.
Anyway, this conversation is quickly interrupted by Wyatt himself barging into the holodeck. And Riker's like, oh, look what the cat dragged in. We were just talking about you, fucking woman stealer.
Wyatt's just like looking around. He's like, wow, this is awesome. He's like, this holodeck is awesome. He's like a kid. He's very innocent, very just naive.
Troi kind of takes the lead here, and she's like, listen, Bill was a little concerned that you might be upset that I care deeply for him, too. But Wyatt doesn't seem too concerned. After all, he doesn't really want Deanna, right? He just wants to be a starship captain, and as we've discussed and established, starship captains can't take wives. Marriage would be in the way of that.
And he says to Riker rather innocently, he's like, good luck with that ambition. like,
oh my God.
It's tone because he was completely innocent. He didn't mean anything by it.
Wyatt says he really respected what Deanna did at dinner. And she's like, lose my temper? Yeah, that's real respectable. And Riker's like, he does the Midwest knee slap and goes, well, I'm clearly in the way again. I'm going to go. And he leaves.
He's just running. He's running.
Wyatt continues. Apparently, Deanna's outburst shamed everyone into coming to compromise, just like Sarah suggested. Half Betazoid, half Earth. Let's come together over what we have in common.
And only half of us will go naked. It should be a choice.
Right?
Deanna's going to go naked. Wyatt's going naked. Her mom and his father, but not his mother, are going to be naked.
And this was fun. Wyatt's like, I just caught my father practicing naked in front of his mirror, and he acts out this like fat guy sucking in his gut in front of a mirror. That was fun.
I mean, if you knew you were going to okay, you had 3 weeks and you got to do something naked. What are you going to do? You're going to go look in the mirror.
But on a more serious note, he sits next to her on the rock and asks, is this something you really want to do? And she says yes. So the string music swells and they kiss.
Why would she say yes? Why would she want to?
Right.
I don't think she wants to. Why would she say that?
Right. Especially when we have a mention later here, something about, Betazoids being absolutely honest and everything, or we already had that happen, I think.
Mm-hmm.
This don't sound honest.
I feel like she should have been like, I guess. I mean, like, no, but this is the path that this is what we agreed on, and it's tradition to honor Betazoid culture. I feel like she should have said that.
Meanwhile, on the bridge, they've tried sending some warning messages to the Tyrellian ship, but haven't gotten any response, and Data's used some sensor trick to verify that the messages were received, so they're just being ignored.
On the other channel, they're getting a call from Haven again. It's the Electorine, which I love the way that they make up these leadership names, but the Electorine is calling again, and she's again pleading with Picard to do something because she's like, I don't want them to turn our planet into a graveyard. Please do something. And they acknowledge that they recognize the situation, but she's like, no, blow them up now.
Jean-Luc, blow up the damn ship!
No! No!
And he's not going to do that. And she says, you must. And she hangs up on them. But Tasha's like ready to shoot. She's like, I can disable them with a phaser burst. I can just disable their ship. I'm not going to kill anybody. But then Picard says, let's do the tractor beam. Let's go the tractor beam option. And we grab them.
And apparently when you're held in a tractor beam, that blocks your ability to beam. You can't beam through a tractor beam. Apparently. That's what this episode suggests.
Remember, what was the other episode we watched like a couple of episodes ago where they did the tractor beam? And I think that's right. I think that's consistent, at least. It's not necessarily right.
Okay. There's some chatter here that doesn't really fit for me. Geordi says they're close enough now they could respond to their hails with running lights if they had to. And Data says, unless they're all dead and the ship is running on autopilot. Come on, they can scan the ship for life forms. Life forms.
True.
But they're not dead. Finally, a staticky phone call comes through from the plague ship, and Troi recognizes right away it's that woman from Wyatt's drawings.
And we'll take half our clothes off?
We learn that this woman's name is Ariana, played by Danica Kingsley, who doesn't have a lot of acting credits, but apparently went on to become a photographer with particular interest in photographing pregnant women, publishing a book in 2001 under the name Danica Perez called The Glow, A Journey to Motherhood, which I think is really interesting.
Aw.
The man on the screen with her, who speaks first, is her father, Ren, played by Ray Burke, who goes on to play a Sona doctor in Star Trek Insurrection. Remember the Sona when they were stretching the skin on their faces?
Oh.
And stapling it down with the staple gun?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the doctors. They had ham on their face so you wouldn't recognize him.
Were those like the people who were like literally rotting?
Yeah.
Okay.
He made the rounds in television guest appearances, but he was in Throw Mama from the Train and some of the Naked Gun movies.
Nice.
Yeah. Rin introduces himself and asks if there's somebody named Wyatt around, just as Wyatt and Crusher step off the turbolift onto the bridge, and he's holding those fucking drawings.
I was going to
again.
say the same thing. He's got those fucking drawings with him.
It's all been building to this moment where A and B stories collide. This is the woman that's been sending telepathic messages to Wyatt, knowing that they would meet here at Haven. And Picard is, of course, concerned about the plague they presumably carry, and they do. The last 8 of their kind.
Was she sending telepathic messages, or were they just somehow connected because they were both dreaming about each other and drawing photos of each other since they were children? And Ren is just shocked that he sees Wyatt and it's like, just like you said, you were right. You know, he is here.
Picard asks if they've come here because of that legend of the miracle healing crystals on this planet or whatever. And it seems that they have, but they don't want to make contact with the planet's native peoples, smallpox blankets and whatnot. They just ask for a distant, unpopulated island somewhere to live out the last of their days because they're going to die here.
I'm like, nope, you still can't come down to my planet. Nope,
right?
Sorry.
We are quarantined. But Picard's like, oh, this isn't my house, so I don't get to offer a room to you, but I can let the guy who owns this house know that you would like to rent a room or whatever.
I'll be your mediator.
Later, Wyatt has gone down to Mrs. Troy's quarters to ask her for her help in figuring out this whole mystery woman from my dreams situation. What an interesting person to choose to go to for this advice.
Yeah, but Betazoids are honest. And I don't think it's something he could talk to his mother about.
Right. Her deep life advice is that the answer is too simple for most humans to comprehend. All things are connected. All consciousness is indissolubly bound together. That's how you and Ariana were able to connect like this. So you're right. It's not that they were sending telepathic messages. It's that because they're connected by the fabric of the universe, man.
There you go.
Then she gets up, having matter-of-factly explained the situation.
Nothing phases her.
Picks up a couple hair accessories and asks him, which one of these do you think would look best on me naked?
So the next scene is with him in sickbay, and he's kind of rushing around nervously and gathering up some containers, and Crusher walks in and asks him if he's okay, and he just passes it off as wedding jitters. He tells Crusher that the supplies are ready, and he's going to take him to the transporter room. Crusher walks out. Then just as he is about to walk out, he gets a hypo spray and fills it up and walks out.
First, he goes to the room where the wedding is being set up, right? The chairs are all arranged. There's a lectern. And he finds Deanna and his parents and basically says his goodbyes.
Yeah.
Tells his parents to take care of each other. And to Deanna, he says, "You are beautiful, but you looked best of all in the desert on the holodeck after your boyfriend left when we did this." And he kisses her again. Nobody pushes back. Nobody asks questions. Nobody tries to stop him. They just let him go.
And Deanna had to feel, I think he's saying goodbyes. You know, it's such a finality. But she didn't
Clearly.
she didn't say shit either. So he goes to the transporter room, and the transport chief is there. This poor guy. Unsuspecting, he tells Wyatt to put the stuff on the transporter pad. Dr. Crush is coming, and Wyatt walks around behind him, gives him a shot, knocks him out, jumps on the transporter pad with the supplies, and he's gone.
On the bridge, Geordi detects this beam out, but it's happening too fast. He's not able to override it. And we see Wyatt beam in on the pad of the plague ship. And I don't know why I didn't notice this earlier, but let's have another episode of Sweater Trek. He's wearing this sweater. It's all gray, and it has like a triangle, like top, and then the lower, the toward his abdomen is the point to the triangle. And that looked to me like the spacesuit from Mork and Mindy.
Yeah. Well, but I think about it. Yeah. It was about, gosh, Mork and Mindy was early 80s, I think.
I know there's a Star Trek connection. I just don't know it off the top of my head.
You do?
Searching.
In one episode of Mork and Mindy, a character wore a costume that combined a space helmet from the Tholian web with a protective suit from The Naked Time.
Oh my God.
Mork's Orkan greeting gesture was similar to Spock's Vulcan greeting gesture.
Mm-hmm.
Nanu nanu.
Mm-hmm.
In the episode Mork, Mindy, and Marth meet Milt, William Shatner cross-beams between Mork and Mirth. Mork asks Shatner if they killed off Spock, and Shatner says, "Beam me up, Orson." This episode aired in February 1982, a few months before Spock's temporary death in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of connections. Anyway, as he steps off the transporter, he walks past a wall where there's a bunch of those Hamilton collector plates displayed, and each one of them is a picture of himself at a different age. You know, I used to have some of those Star Trek collector plates. They got sold off with all of my other Star Trek stuff that I'm still kind of bummed about.
Oh, where would you put them today?
No,
Sarah?
I'm trying to minimalize my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to sell a bunch of shit and downsize. Around the corner, he finds the 8 Tyrellians, who are not at all surprised to see him. They knew that this is how the whole thing was going to end. Mr. and Mrs. Wyatt come storming onto the bridge, demanding Picard beam Wyatt back. Victoria can't bear to think of him over there with those lepers. But it's Troi who explains that he can never come back now. He's on the plague ship.
He's contaminated.
The Tyrellians appear on the view screen again, Wyatt at Ariana's side this time, and asks for the tractor beam to be disengaged. They won't be going to Haven after all. They have what they came here for, Wyatt. And Wyatt's going to try to work on a cure. He explains to his parents, "This is what I put you into massive debt paying for medical school for, to cure people. Who else needs cured but these people? So I'm going to try to find a cure for them."
He's going to have to, or he's going to die with them anyway. So
he knew this planet held his destiny, but it wasn't Deanna after all. It was Ariana. And he apologizes, but Deanna says she's happy for him, and Ariana too. Steve says he's proud of his son. He's like, cure the sick aliens who have no hope to live, feed the babies who don't have enough to eat, shoe the children with no shoes on their feet, house the people living in the street, fly like an eagle.
You managed to work them all in.
I think that is the last one, yeah. The call disconnects, tractor beam turns off, and Deanna whispers goodbye as her mother stands beside her with her arm around her, sort of comfortingly. We see the plague ship leave, and in the transporter room, Picard, Riker, and Deanna are seeing the Wyatts off. Steven tells Deanna to keep the chest with the creepy face. Isn't that like saying, well, this didn't work out, but you can keep the engagement ring? No, bitch, that shit was expensive. Give me that back.
Oh, wow. Well, that's how much money they got to throw around, but then they don't really have money. They don't have money anymore, right?
We think they have jewels. Just as soon as they beam out, Mrs. Troi comes in, and she suggests maybe she'll stick around and join with a new mate herself. And Deanna's like, what? She's like, well, of course you know the captain wants in my pants in the worst way, but he's a little too old. And she turns to Riker instead, and Deanna's like, he's mine.
Deanna's like, he's got other things to do, like run a ship. She's like, oh, well, his loss.
He has other obligations to my clit just as soon as you're fucking gone.
Oh my.
She and Mr. Hum get ready to get on the transporter. And then Mr. Hum says the one thing that you'll never hear him speak again, but he does say, thank you for the drinks.
It looked like Riker was going to fucking lose it.
Everyone was staring up at him in disbelief that he actually spoke. Luoxane gives her daughter a parting message telepathically to remember her heritage.
And then she says, Captain, even Zelo never had such thoughts about me. You may energize. And they beam away. And once she's gone, Deanna explains that was meant as a joke. And Picard's like, I was not amused.
He probably wanted to murder her. I don't know. You never really get a sense of what he's thinking, even though Luoxana thinks he's attracted to her.
She thinks everybody's attracted to her. Quick chair chat on the bridge. We're happy that Counselor Troi will be remaining with the ship, and Riker and Deanna share some big smiles as we go off to the next adventure.
Makeup sex!
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'll be glad to be relieved of this cargo.
Me too.
It is done, and perhaps just as well.
Yeah, but you know, I learned something today.
I sincerely hope that this is the last time that I find myself here.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? You see, of all the species, yours cannot abide stagnation. Change is at the heart of what you are. That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
This episode was so much about the human condition. Different cultures coming together and clashing, quirky family dynamics. It's so good. And I love that Data gets to use this whole clusterfuck as a way to observe humanity.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't really make it much of a statement on humanity beyond like, I really enjoy the Jerry Springer show, you know? But yeah, what a great opportunity for Data to see sort of the behind the curtain, the real interactions that humans have.
Yeah. He became us, you know, as a viewer to just sit and watch the fun.
And I love that in the end, tradition doesn't win above all else.
Yeah.
I'm not a believer in fate or destiny, as this episode wants to suggest, but Wyatt's dedication to his cause as a doctor overrides the cultural tradition. That's absolutely the right thing.
Yeah.
Tradition for the sake of tradition is something we've got to move beyond.
Yeah. They had absolutely no reason to be getting married other than it was a promise that was made between friends, and how callous of adults to do that to children.
Yeah.
We still do it today. We make decisions for them without regard of what they might feel like when they're older.
Mm-hmm.
And people should not do things out of duty because, you know, a long time ago, somebody made that decision for you. You got to go with how you feel.
And give people the autonomy to make their own damn decisions.
Right.
This arranged marriage stuff is just not good at all.
No.
And then, so you've married your daughter off to a domestic abuser, and you've also created a culture where divorce is a shameful thing and should never be done.
Right.
And so now she's stuck.
Yeah.
How fucking dare you give her the agency to decide on her own if this is the person I want to be with or not.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Even divorce already has this, like, it's hard enough to decide to get a divorce because there's a sense of failure. But then when you're getting married because you've been obligated to your parents, that's even worse you're never going to be able to say, I want a divorce.
Yep.
And hey, love prevailed, or maybe love. We don't know. We think that's what that is between Wyatt and Ariana. Love.
My Jerry Springer final thought. I love Majel Barrett Roddenberry in this role. She is amazing. She just owns every scene she's in in all the best ways. And if you're watching along with us for the first time, if this is the first time you've seen Star Trek and you're hoping for more of Mrs. Troi, I've got some great news for you.
She's fantastic. I love her. She's one of my favorite characters. She's annoying as fuck, and that's what I love about her because she does not give a shit.
Yep. So annoying, but very endearing.
Yeah. Can you imagine her and Q on the same episode?
Oh my God.
They've never been on the same episode. Because
that would have been amazing.
Because like you said, they do whatever scene they're in, it's their scene.
Yeah.
They're never a background character. So I just couldn't even imagine the two of them.
Did anybody die in this episode beside Riker's boner?
No, nobody died.
Well, damn.
We can handle all the pleasantries later. Now, let's get down to business.
I am willing to pay handsomely for you.
I think you've had a little too much to drink.
Now, what do you know about my money?
Your money?
The money he stole!
You stole his money?
Those vouchers I gave you were every bit as good as Latinum.
You can spend Latinum almost anywhere. Those vouchers are only good at your bar.
We want to thank everyone who supports the show on Patreon. We especially want to thank our founding admirals. A special thanks to Russell, Allie, Peter, Sarah, Sherry, and Bruce. Thank you, patrons.
Thanks, guys.
Kapla, warriors of the cosmos. Listen well. If you find Humanist Trek to be a worthy battle companion, prove your mettle. Leave a review like a victorious roar echoing through the halls of Stovokor. But for those with the heart of a true Klingon, ascend to greatness by becoming a patron. Pledge your support and earn the respect of warriors across the galaxy. Earn early access, battle-worthy merch, and bonus content that'll make your blood boil hotter than Klingon coffee. Visit patreon.com/humanisttrek and pledge a meager $3 per moon cycle. It's the honorable thing to do. And let it be known throughout the Empire that you have helped fuel the laughter heard from Kronos to the far reaches of Grethor. Ha!
Captain, Starfleet Academy is requesting an update on our estimated arrival.
Finalists, please take your seats.
I must admit you have a very fast mind. Once I realized it was a trick question, there was only one answer.
Although only one student will be chosen for the Academy, any of you could easily qualify. Candidates, good luck.
You got called to the superintendent's office. It's a story I'd like to hear.
Beck is back with us now for the exciting answer to this week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge. For Haven, remind us again the question.
What non-Trek reoccurring role did Armin Shimmerman turn down to accept this one-time role in the episode as the talking gift box?
And I don't remember what we said. Do you have that recorded?
I didn't record it.
God damn it.
I was... Yeah.
I don't remember either.
I know you got it wrong.
Oh, shit.
The Admiral is definitely incorrect.
Yep, I have no idea what our answers were.
All right. I know they were wrong. That's all I know.
All right, what's the right answer then?
I don't think there's any way either one of you would have gotten this.
Then why the fuck would you do this to us?
Because that's what I do. Anyway, I just really liked the answer and the background. And so it was more about, I think this is fun information to have. So Armin Shimmerman explained that at the time he was picked for the role of Betazoid Giftbox, he was already currently playing the character of Pascal on Beauty and the Beast.
Hell, you should have known that.
Was a 1987 live action TV series.
Okay, yes.
As a Star Trek fan, Shimmerman had been auditioning for many of the Star Trek films and was absolutely ecstatic when he was cast for this episode. 5 days after Shimmerman got the role, his agent called to tell him that Beauty and the Beast needed him on the same day he was to do this episode, and that he had to let go of Star Trek in favor of Beauty and the Beast, which was paying him real money because it was recurring. But Shimmerman, being a huge Trek fan, refused to give up his long-sought chance to be part of the Trek franchise. After a huge fight, he won the argument, and he and his agent parted company.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, he stated that he felt he made the right decision choosing Star Trek: The Next Generation over Beauty and the Beast, as it ultimately led to his more famous role as the Ferengi bartender Quark.
Oh, man.
Wow.
What a great story.
Didn't we have a conversation about Beauty and the Beast? I feel like we did.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I know he was on it.
Yeah. And whatever happened to that agent? Nobody knows. Nobody cares.
Nobody knows.
He's kicking himself in the ass, though, isn't he?
Yeah, right?
What a great moment in your life to
Right.
where you're faced with a choice, and one of those choices is going to change the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful. We love him as the Ferengi, as Quark. But gosh, what if he hadn't taken it?
Right?
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. What would we know him for? Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No. Nobody. We all collectively try very hard to forget that series.
There's no con for Beauty and the Beast.
No.
Okay. There's no fandom for
There's
that.
no cult following.
Listen,
No.
I would quit every job if they were called up and were like, hey, we're going to mangle you in a transporter accident. You're going to be on screen for all of like 6 seconds. I will quit everything right now.
Me too. Me too. Because you will be known for that forever.
Fuck yeah.
In the Trek world. Hey, remember that extra that got mangled? You'll have an IMDb page with one entry.
All right. Next time, we'll be discussing Star Trek: The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 12, The Big Goodbye. When the holodecks malfunction, the captain and 3 crew members become trapped in San Francisco, 1941, where they're held hostage by Spocko in the morning. We're right back to a piece of the action.
A piece of the action the whole time again. I was like, I love this episode.
Okay, murderous gangsters. I love this episode too. What's our question for The Big Goodbye?
What category did this episode win an Emmy for?
What?
Oh, fuck. And I remember glancing over that. Oh, jeez. Aw. Damn it. Oh, no, that wasn't it. I was going to say makeup.
Is it like best sound design, set design, story? I don't know what all the categories are. I'm not an awards person. I don't watch those.
Me either. Makeup and costume. I don't know.
Okay. Are you writing it down this time?
You said sound and
no.
sound design?
No, I'm going to go with set design.
Okay.
And Allie's going with makeup and costume.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't know.
Locked in your answers.
All right.
Actually did it this time.
Fantastic.
It's locked in.
But we still got it wrong. But if you'd like to play along, you know how to do that. Head out to your social media and share this episode. Use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, and we will pick out a winner. Next time on Humanist Trek, Star Trek: The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 12, The Big Goodbye.
Glory to your house.
Make it so, number 1.
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.